Hey, coaches! Welcome back to the Coach Chip channel, Football Talk with Coach Chip. Don't forget our sponsors. Got Johnny's New York Style Pizzeria over in historic downtown West Point. Go by and see our guys, our buddies Ben and Yada. Tell them Coach Chip sent you. And don't forget our good friend Johnny Buckets and the Johnny Buckets podcast with Thrift Behringer. They had a special guest on last night. I'll give you 3 guesses who it was, and the first 2 don't count. No, it was me. Okay? Go to wherever you get your podcast. It's good. It's got good content. Last night's was exceptional, I think. It was the best one they've ever done. And so be sure to hit them up. You can find them on Spotify. You can find them on Apple. I guess they're on Stitcher, and I don't know what else others there are. I used to use Apple all the time. Now I got Spotify, and I use Spotify. All right, I'm the second segment in the middle of the show. It's Johnny Buckets podcast with Thrift Behringer, Johnny's New York Style Pizza, and the greatest real estate agent in all of West Georgia, Tammy Pierce. Okay, if you're looking for property in West Georgia, all you got to do is come to Pine Mountain and say, "Where's Miss Tammy?" And they'll point you to her office right down there in beautiful downtown Pine Mountain. All right, let's get started with the Jerome Bettis edition of Football Talk with Coach Chip. That's right, episode 36. Get on the bus. As they used to say in Pittsburgh, it's time for 36 to take us to the promised land. We're going to talk RPOs, and we're going to talk them out of Buck Sweep today. And this was inspired by a couple of our devoted viewers who comment with me a lot. We get back and forth on my email, siegel.chip@gmail.com. That's SEAGLE.chip@gmail.com. And a lot of the stuff that we do, they've inspired it. Not just them, but just people commenting, and it makes me realize that I didn't do a very good job of explaining things, or I've caused more questions, which is good. And I think I've said this before. I know I've said it when I'm corresponding with people. I just did this so folks would talk football, would talk ball with me. All I want to do is just talk ball. Just an old coach wanting to talk some ball. And I want to talk to you about the first one I ever did way back about 7 years ago. I want to say it was 2013 or 2014 when we got in gun. We were still running a wing tee, and we still do. And it was a pre-snap. A lot of folks say, well, that's not an RPO. Well, whatever. What we do, because I was new to it. I'd never done it. And I was thinking this would be an easy one to teach and an easy one to learn. You pre-snap it. If that dog, that hole player, can't make that play right there, you throw the bubble. You just throw it. You say, well, what are you doing? What is the conflict, or what is the bind you're putting him in? Well, what you're doing is you're constraining him with this access throw, the gift, whatever you want to call it. Because if he's in here, then he can stop your counter off of the buck, okay, off the buck action. But if you get him out here far enough where he's got to worry about this bubble, okay, and some folks like to do it with the bubble slant right there, okay, then he can't make the play here. You're cleaning up your counter hole because we can account. Got the down block here. You got the kicker here, and you got the wrapper coming right there. So you got those 3 accounted for. Everybody else is getting down block too and back block. But you can't account for that dog if he's going to fall in, to the off tackle hole. So to keep him out of the mix, to keep him from getting nosy, you got to show them that ability that you'll throw that joker out there. This is a great one for young teams, for youth teams, for junior high teams. And you don't have to do it out of buck, but you can do it out of the outside zone, away from it. And either one's fine. And we had a good one on the pin and pull versus the buck sweep. And they're both good in their own right. It just depends on what kind of lineman you have. I like the buck because you're not always going to have that tackle that can reach that 5. So why do I like doing it out of this action in the backfield? Because the quarterback is here. Now, I've told my young quarterbacks in the past, I said, guys, when you hear an announcer on TV, oh, man, he's really seeing the entire field tonight. I'm calling bull crap on that. Now, there's been a few that maybe could see the entire field, but the truth of the matter is they're playing math. You know what I'm talking about. They drop back, and they're reading a guy over on the left, and they go 1, 2. Okay, based on that, then this over here's got to be open. And they may call that seeing the entire field, but there ain't no way it's humanly possible to drop back and see 53 yards. God ain't made peripheral vision that great yet. Even Oscar Robertson with his bug-eyed self flipping that ball off as he goes down the lane, laying it off, couldn't see like that. That's just a basketball court. 53 and a third yards from sideline to sideline. Who the crap's looking at that? All right, back to my point. The defense doesn't know who he's looking at. He could be reading this dog, this Will, this Mike, this Sam, this safety. Who is he reading? Because he's looking. If you're running power, and it's a great RPO is great off power, RPO is great off a zone, inside zone. Don't get me wrong. But my point is, I like it this way because you're still you're kind of off tackle, especially when you get that tight end out here. You're kind of off tackle, so it's an inside run of sorts. All right, but the defense now doesn't know. It's almost like old triple option football. And when I was a young coach, we just run inside veer, outside veer, and then in the 90s we had the midline, and we always reading the same guy. It was very simple. But then I'd go to a clinic or something like that and sit in on somebody like off Georgia Tech staff or Georgia Southern staff back then. Georgia Tech wasn't running it back when I was a young coach. And you would hear them talk about calls where you're reading a different guy, and the defense doesn't know who's being read. They don't know who the offense is going to leave unblocked. All right, now fast forward to the year 2020. Okay, and we're running, this is modern new age option football. They don't know who if you've got the quarterback, you got the back set over here, and that guy's going to come across right here. The quarterback's got the whole field to choose from who he's going to read. Who is the guy that we're going to trigger, that's going to trigger our quarterback to either leave the ball with the running back on the buck or the sweep, the outside zone, whichever is you prefer. Who's the guy that's going to trigger him to keep it and throw some type of RPO pass, some kind of quick pass? Okay, that's why I love doing it so much out of the buck action. All right, let's look at a real RPO before our spread guys out there in the audience have a hemorrhage and their brain explodes right here in the middle of a COVID hiatus. This one is a backside read, okay? Like the other one's backside read too, but it was a pre-snap. This one we're going to read, we're going to put the will, and we define will by the first inside linebacker backside of the midline, backside of the midline of the play. You drew a line right down the center. Everything to the left on this play would be backside. And so what he is, this is the will. That's who we identify as will. That's the guy we're reading on this one. Now, Coach asked me, he said, how do you know who you're reading? Well, it's just any play. Like any other play, there's certain rules attached to it. You tell them, okay, on this one, we're reading will. And you can do it with tags. You can just call buck or call sweep or call power or call zone. And then with a tag from a coach on the sideline or a kid holding up a signboard or just somebody saying something or giving a signal, everybody knows what we're doing. And you come up with the name, whatever that is. Okay, we're going to read will backside, so we're going to call that womble. There's a W and a B in there, womble. And can you tell I'm just grabbing that out of the thin air, okay, or something a little lower than thin air. I'm picking it out of there. And that's how you read it. And that's how you discern who you're reading. If you're a wristband team, you can put it on the quarterback's wristband, read will. Read will, backside slant. And that tells him, buck right, read will, backside slant. That tells him everything he needs to know. And you rep it up in such a way where he knows what that means. So on this one, you're running your slant looking thing here. Okay, and out here you're running your under, same amount of steps. And people say, why do you do that? If the quarterback is not looking at that receiver. He's looking, as soon as he gets the ball, he's extending it and looking at the wheel. He doesn't have a clue what the receiver's doing. Okay? And he doesn't know what that dog is doing. So if that dog, for some reason, some sneaky defensive coordinator, and y'all find out who they are, if they're on this site, we're going to ban them. We don't have that mess up in here. He's going to take that away. So the quarterback, he reads will chasing that backer. Okay? So the quarterback pops up, going to throw that, and he goes, oh, crap, there's the dog. Right then, boom, boom, throw the under. I promise you, the corner is not doing this. If he's lined up here, he ain't doing this. All right. Now, they may do this, And if they do that, you know what I tell my guy to do? Give it. We got a good coaching point. If in doubt, give to live. They never forget that rhyme. Okay, if in doubt, give to live. And that's all they got to do. And that's why I have that under out there right there. All right, but now if he's off like that, 7, 8 yards, and you push off hard right here at an angle, he's going to give ground with you. Okay? And then that under will be there. And that's your little outlet in case that dog gets sneaky. Okay? Or if he spots that safety getting sneaky, trying to come up here and rob that mess right there. All right? And that's why we do that. And I hope that answers that question. And also brings this up. The reason I like Buck again, not just so the quarterback can see the whole field as he's looking, and he can't see the whole field at one time, but they don't know what he's looking at, you see, because he's looking dead at them. If he's running power and turned this way, they know he's not reading back here. I was talking to a guy the other day, and he said what they do an RPO where he reverses out because it's kind of a pre-snap thing. And this is a college. I'm not going to say which one because it was a Zoom that he did for us, and I'm not going to give it away. But he said, that guy's coming. And so he reversed out and spun around and did it. I said, I ain't doing that crap. I ain't got the nerve to do that. And then again, I'm not playing with 3s and 4s and 5s, stars that is. All right, why do I like doing it off Buck? Because so many defensive coaches are smart, and they know to slow play the zone with the backside linebacker. Because that thing, if you're running true inside zone, that thing could bend back over here, right? It could bend back to the left. And so, but when you get that guard pulling, you're more likely to get that A-gap run through right there, okay, which is so many of them are taught to do. And this is why this RPO is such a gift to coaches, to offensive coaches, because one of the things, if you got a really athletic linebacker that's quick and he sees that pulling guard, that's one of the drawbacks to the Buck is the run-throughs. There's going to be a run-through, okay? And, if everybody does their blocks, and if that linebacker can find it and he's athletic enough, he can get up in there and make that tackle in here. Talking about his will. But see, with this RPO right here, you're taking that away from him. If he's one of those active cats and he does that, you just raise up and pop that joker right yonder. That's good stuff now. That's good stuff, cuz. I promise you. Okay? And so that's the backside one right there. All right, now let's look at a front side RPO off the Buck. Now in this one, instead of reading will, and again, you just got to rep it up, or you could do it like tell the quarterback, okay, we're running RPO to trips. Then we're reading the whole player, the force guy, right here. Okay, we're running RPO backside to twins. Then we're reading the will to the previous play. That goes to one of our coaches that was asking me, how do you know which one you're reading? And like I said, there's several ways to do it. You can just build it into it. Or you can just have your Buck sweep and have all these tags. You can have a default, and you can have all these tags. And you can just pretty much tag any of your quick game that you can put a guy in a bind with. And that's one way of looking at it. I've never done it that way where you tagged it. We toyed with it several years ago, but it went by the wayside, and it was probably a user failure. In other words, our part, the coaches not being able to do it right. All right, real quick before we do that. To the one receiver side off RPOs, you got the access or the gift. And what I mean by that is just a now pass. It's what we used to call back in the old days a stand pass where the receiver just stands there. And we teach them to go fast feet, fast hands, and just raise up and look. Okay? Fast feet, fast hands, raise up and look. And again, it goes back to that first RPO, the pre-snap I told you about. We're trying to make this guy play out to keep him out of here for the counter. If we can make him play halfway, then he's kind of halfway in, halfway out. It's kind of like being pregnant. You can't be halfway pregnant. Either you're pregnant or you're not pregnant. Okay, either you can play in the box or you can't play in the box. And so that goes back to the old leverage question. Do we have leverage? Do we have leverage? Now, if he's in here taking away your counter off Buck, throw that sucker, man. Throw that sucker out there. And just tell the quarterback you don't even fake. And you just tell him to take a step back and tell that tailback, don't get in the way. You run your path. And if he takes a step back away from you, and that ball's not extended, you just act like you got it and keep running. Don't stop and look or anything like that. Maybe you'll draw somebody with you because you're doing the faking and not you and the quarterback. Just tell the quarterback, take a step back. It's like turning two in baseball. Catch the snap, bam, right there. Just drag that foot across the bag and whip it out there to him. And that one's a pretty easy one because you just, can he make the play? You're asking the quarterback. You tell the quarterback, you look at that whole player, that dog, can he, right here, make this play? Okay? So why don't you just run a hitch, coach, right there? Well, if he's kind of halfway and you think you can do it, and you run him up here for a hitch, what if he falls back in here and undercuts your hitch? You know? So I'm just saying, I'll just throw it out here, shortest distance between 2 points. Just throw it right there and let him run out here like this, running away from that dog. And now that corner's got to come up right here. And look, if he makes the tackle, we gain 5 yards. That's a pretty good buck sweep, or a pretty good buck, I should say. All right, back over here on the front side. This is a front side read. It's the trips. You're reading the whole player, the force player right there. Okay? Now this time, instead of number 2 running your slant, number 1's running your slant because you're reading a guy that's wider. You're not reading an inside backer. And so you're reading that whole player. So if he comes up, because he sees Buck down, you hum that joker, okay? Now, number 2 is running this out right here. Or you can just run an idle, just run him to the sideline and tell him to sit and look. Because something happens, like the corner comes up and takes away that, or it gets in the business of it, or they want to be cute and play this safety over here, and that quarterback in his peripheral, when he pulls up, he sees force come flying up right here. He disconnects and comes up, and as he's coming up, he sees that safety spinning down. Boom, bam, right there. Just turn those hips real quick. It's not even a quarter turn. You go from throwing the ball right here to throwing the ball right here. And again, it's that outlet. Okay, it's meaning that if the quarterback makes the right read, but somebody does something different, or if this guy slips on his cut and falls down right here, you've got an outlet. And if nothing else, he can just throw it over that joker's head and we live to fight another day, as Farmer Fran says in one of the best football movies ever. That's sarcasm, it's not. And that's a front side read. Okay, so you're reading the force player. You're reading the force player. Like I said, you can either tag it, okay, or just tell your quarterback, we run Buck to trips. Okay, you're reading the whole guy, the force player. We run Buck away from twins, or to that side, and you got twins over here, then you're reading the wheel. You're reading an inside guy, okay? And that's how you can tell, or you can just tag it. That's up to you. Okay, last one. We're about 18 minutes in right now. All right, now this one, and there's one thing I've been with y'all is honest, okay? I'm not just giving you clinic talk, and when I tell you I've done something, I back it up with video, or I just be honest with you and say, hey, I've done this, but it was so long ago, I don't have any video. And that happens sometimes when you change schools and you don't download everything that you think you might need onto your portable hard drive, and or email it to yourself, whatever it is you do when you change schools. I haven't changed schools but once, and that was just recently, since we went to the whole huddle experience. Back with the old days when I changed schools, I was just making copies of disc and VHS tapes. I was at Lynette so long when we first got there, it was VHS tape the first year, then it was DVD, and then about third or fourth year it was huddle. So I was at Lynette when we had a lot of turnover in technology. I've never done this, guys. I know a guy that's done it. I've talked to him about Zooming with me, and if he gives me permission, I'll record the Zoom on my screen catcher that I use, my Screen-O-Matic, my Screencast-O-Matic. I give them a plug, even though I pay them for it. And if he'll let me, I'll record it, and we'll put it on as a future episode. And he runs this. And I've talked to him, and he said it's a really good thing against teams that want to involve the safety. And I guess you can do it versus too high as well. And I said, well, how do you do it? Well, you just build it in, or you go back to what I said. You tag it. You call Buck right, okay? And you tag it with verts. Well, obviously, you're not going to be running verts with your tight end and your wing back because they got to block down for the Buck. So these guys are running verts. So this guy here is going to, I always like to line him up top of the numbers and break at an angle to get that guy to flip his hips and get him again, I don't do this play, but I do verts, and get him to turn his back to the inside so we don't know what's going on, and get on that yellow brick road at the bottom of the numbers, okay? And this guy here, forget mandatory outside release, forget win the inside on this one here. Now, there's some plays we do that on. On this one here is get your butt off the ball the best way you can and get down that hash, okay? Inside, outside, be water, cuz. Take the path of least resistance and get off that thing now. And the quarterback takes a snap, puts the ball out, belt buckle extended, with his eyeballs on the free. Again, because it's the buck action, the flat cross-face action, his head's right here. His eyes are right here. They don't know who he's reading. Heck, a while ago, he was reading Will. Then a second ago, he was reading Dog. Now he's reading the safety, and nobody knows it but him. So if that safety has been taught to run that alley right there, as soon as his butt flat foots and makes a step, we ought to be disconnected. Now, if he's late to it, some of them like take a step, just stand there until they see it. Some of them take a step or two back and then get involved. It's okay. Remember what I say. If in doubt, give to live. If he comes up and makes a heck of a play, you're still going to gain yards if you block everybody else. But if that safety cannot make that play, disconnect and hum that joker right there. Hum that, and it's like a hot pass. Now, we call it verts. What you do, you teach your receiver, hey, when you clear that second level, you're looking, it's a hot seam, baby. And we've done that off other things. I know we've done it off power. We did it off like in a kind of a zone thing where you stuck it in there, and we did it with the H. We did it in the state championship game where it's a hot seam. And all a hot seam, we tell them, a hot seam, when we say hot seam, it means get vertical, run your verts, but as soon as you clear the second level, the backers, your eyes are looking like an old school tight end dump pass from the 70s and 80s when the quarterback would ride the fullback and jump and throw that thing right there. Football hadn't changed, y'all. We just using different formations, spreading out a little bit more and throwing a little bit more. But football is still football. All right, so what he's doing, this is a third level read. Don't do it until you've mastered second level reads, okay? Or some coaches may adapt it differently. We're going to do third level read, then come to second level read. Some coaches I've talked to that do this, they start out with the run options. Read first level, read the ends. And then they go to second level reads on RPOs. Then they go to third level reads on RPOs. You say, well, what about getting guys downfield, coach? Again, one of the perks, I told you the negative about the A-gap run through of a buck, but here's a perk, a plus, a positive of the buck sweep. The kicker, and I just did this for the heck of it, I put him in an under front and let my guard block down and pull my tackle just to be cute. Okay, you can't do that unless you have a tight end, really. I guess you could do it, yeah, but I ain't never done that. And I haven't used a tight end since Moby Dick was a minnow, and unless it's short yards goal line. So the pulling guard, the kicker, the kicking guard, he is not going to be downfield. His kick-out block will be somewhere in or around the line of scrimmage. Even a nearsighted referee won't call that, okay? The backside puller, the left guard in this case, has got the furthest to travel. By the time he wraps, even on the third level read, if you're hitting the joker hot somewhere in here, he's not downfield. He'd be somewhere right in here, okay, around where the Sam is right there. Okay, so we don't have an issue. We don't have an issue. There's nobody downfield because of that. And look, all these down blocks are engaged on down linemen. Even if they're terrible down linemen and you drive them all the way back here in high school football, that's legal, cuz. As long as you're engaged, you can drive him all the way down here and be right beside the guy when he catches it. You don't believe me? Look it up in the Federation Rule Book. I learned it in 1988 or 89. I got called. Man, a guy drove my guy way off the ball, and the tight end caught the ball right beside my kid getting knocked flat on his back. And I'm saying, God, ref, he's right there. He's a legal man downfield. After the game, ref said, son, I was a young coach, about 25, 26 years old, and he told me. So from that day on, when I put that rule book right there in the coach's office bathroom, and it got read daily, if you know what I mean. All right. So those are a few RPOs off of your buck action. I've given you the reason I like it. The buck action, because the quarterback view, you can also do that off pin and pull, outside zone, with the flat cross face coming across. And the quarterback then will see the whole field. Also, too, why I like buck, because of the not getting illegal men downfield. And I told you what the negative is about the A-gap run through. Against an underfront, be a B-gap run through. You can see it right here. So there's all kind of pluses and negatives to every play. But I'll just tell you why I like it. Hey, it's like salt, season to taste, okay? Well, listen, that's it for this episode. We're 25 minutes in. It's been episode 36, the Jerome Bettis episode. Don't forget our sponsors. It's Tammy Pierce Realty in Pine Mountain, Georgia. The Johnny Buckets podcast with Thrift Behringer. Check out last night's episode. You'll like the guest. And Johnny's New York Style Pizzeria in beautiful and historic downtown West Point, Georgia. By the way, Johnny's Pizza and Johnny Buckets, the only thing they have in common is Johnny Buckets has put a lot of Johnny's Pizza in his gut. All right, until next time, be safe, listen to the experts. There's hope at the end of the tunnel. And guys, folks, for God's sakes, be elite.